All right, we are live. Gotta get Facebook in here. Hopefully, we can get them in without any issues.
Come on, StreamYard, do your
All
thing. There
right.
we go.
Welcome into another episode of Dove Valley Divers. I am your host, Erick Trickel, and joining me as always is Lance Sanderson. And Lance, man, last night I made a big boo boo. I forgot yesterday was Friday. I ended up making plans that I unfortunately wasn't able to change once I remembered that we had the show to do. And we had a really good topic that we wanted to dive in, which today, last night we talked about getting back into it. But with training camp starting and getting into the meet and greet meat of everything, I wasn't sure if we'd be able to fit it in. So I reached out. We're able to do it tonight. We're able to dive in a little bit more into the conversation from last night. And I'm excited for it. I know it was a conversation that you really wanted to get into and dive a little bit more. So I'm glad that we were able to get in and get it together to where we both can do it tonight without any time constraints on my end.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
It's all good, dude. Like this is one of those typical like Dove Valley deep divers. These true deep dive opinion takes, opinion shows that we like to do here on a now Saturday night, but wonderful Friday evening. Typically, like honestly, doing the best team that money can buy, and the fact that the Broncos had as many players on this roster from this particular particular author, it makes it such an intriguing conversation. How do the Broncos fit in this? Like, how can we maybe get more Broncos onto it? Like, this whole conversation is so much fun to really dig your feet in and dive deep into it. Like it, man. Last night it was such a truncated show. I didn't get a whole lot of opportunity to talk about it, but still, like we get the opportunity to do it tonight. So I'm excited to be here on a Saturday to join you and just have some fun. Let's talk some Broncos football, dude.
Yeah, and again, we're gonna be able to really dive into it. And I even took the time and created my own roster. And as you said, it's the best roster money can buy while staying under the salary cap. So we have to go in. We have to remember that we got to stay under the salary cap. Salary cap numbers play a figure into it. And when Tom Blair made this for NFL.com, he kept it to 4 first-round rookie contracts, 4 second-round, 4 third-round, and then 12 for the 4th through 7th rounds.
Yep.
But we're going to get into that here in a second. We're going to start with recapping the offense, which is what we mainly focused on last night, and then being able to take more time and diving into the defense. But before we get into that, we got to say hello to some people here in the chat. We have Ernie May saying, "Go Broncos country only." We have David Papa Bear McIlrath coming in with a $5 super chat saying, "Good evening, Broncos country. Hashtag 13-4, rookie training camp in 4 days." Super excited. And as I said at the start of the show, that's part of the reason why we're here tonight, to finish up the conversation that we started last night. And we both wanted to dive into a little bit more. Mike S. saying, "What's up, Eric, Lance, and Broncos country?" Jason Bonney saying, "I'm here for the live show." Glad you can join us, Jason. Ernie Mace coming in on Facebook saying, "Hello, Eric and Lance. Go Broncos country only." Mike Thompson saying, "Hey, friends." Dinner Wolf saying 4th generation, and Glenn Ashley saying, "Good morning, Eric and Lance. Happy weekend to you two and all of Broncos country." Yes, I hope everybody's having a wonderful start of the weekend. I said that I don't have anything to shorten the show, but I do have plans tonight. But I made sure I said it for after the normal hour that we allocate for the show, because I didn't forget what today was, like I did yesterday. So getting into it, first things first, at the quarterbacks, Tom Blair, he had Patrick Mahomes as a starting quarterback, and then Bo Nix. We talked about last night about how easy it would have been for him to make adjustments to get Jaden Daniels on there if he wanted a rookie quarterback, but how that it was good to see that Bo Nix was able to stick around there and Tom Blair didn't make those easy changes to get Jaden Daniels out there. And as I said last night, and Lance, I'll let you here in just a second really dive into it. One of those easiest moves that he could have made was switching out, Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is 24 million. Well, you switch out Micah Parsons for like a Trey Hendrickson or a Brian Burns or some of these guys that are making 14 to 20 million. That is very easy to sit there and switch that money, upgrade for Jaden Daniels. But it's really great to see again that he didn't make that adjustment. Bo Nix made it, and it really goes to show that Bo Nix has got the attention of a lot of people in the national media.
That was my big point last night, was the fact that we've got national media pundits coming out and saying, you know what, Bo Nix might be the most underrated quarterback in the NFL right now. And that's specifically talking to Robert Griffin III, former Washington quarterback. I'm not going to say the other name, but a guy that played the position. Yeah, Washington Commanders quarterback. Coming out and saying that after watching all the tape, Bo Nix is the most underrated quarterback in the NFL. And according to Tom Blair here, he said that instead of going with your typical reliable veteran backup quarterback that everyone wants to go with, I'm going to take a younger option that is capable of winning you games. And that particular statement, capable of winning you games, really stuck out to me in this operation because Bo Nix won 10 games with the Broncos this last season. He showed that linear growth that I like to talk about all the time. Like the fact that you got a national media guy saying, you know what, if nothing else, you got Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the NFL right now. We're going to back him up with Bo Nix, who has I'm not going to say a very similar skill set because he doesn't have the arm talent, but the capability of moving and extending plays with his legs, getting outside of the pocket, throwing the football down the field when he's moving on the run. One of the best quarterbacks. I believe he's actually the number one quarterback last season in yards passing outside of the pocket. Like, seriously, this dude has the creativity and the ability to throw the football down the field while moving on the run. Sounds a lot like Patrick Mahomes in the first couple of years of his career. So to me, to see Bo Nix on this list, it really was like a heartwarming and also like an eye-opening sign that, you know what, some people might be sleeping on Bo even more than the general national media is.
Yeah, and now moving on with running backs. No Broncos running back made it. No Broncos receiver made it. But as I mentioned last night, he had Kevontae Turpin making it at $3.1 million against salary cap. And he mentioned his special teams ability. Well, Marvin Mims is an all-pro player. And granted, Kevontae Turpin doesn't count as one of those rookie contracts that he has. Well, Marvin Mims would count as one of the second-round picks, which means that he would have had to adjust for that. I think that would be, an pretty easy adjustment to make, pulling off one of the other second-round picks, getting in Marvin Mims, who is a better returner than Kevontae Turpin, all-pro in both his 2 years so far in the NFL. And Marvin Mims almost had more yards on offense last year than Kevontae Turpin has in his career. So I think that is one move. Plus, you save about a little under $1.5 million against salary cap. That could have been used again to adjust elsewhere, changing out some of those one of those other rookies for a veteran who maybe costs a little bit more. So that to me is one of the things that I would have looked at doing. And when we get into my own that we created about this, if we have time after we dive into Tom Blair's of this a little bit more, that is one of the moves I made. And I think that would have been a pretty easy adjustment for Tom Blair to make.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking about Kevontae Turpin making $3.1 million against the salary cap this season. Marvin Mims as a second-round pick. Yeah, you got to move another second-round pick off of the roster. Marvin Mims is only making $1.65 million against the salary cap. He's an all-pro punt returner 2 years in a row, and he's also much better used as like a gadget-style player. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. With the roster that what Tom Blair brought, you're bringing in Justin Jefferson, you're bringing in Puka Nacua, Ladd McConkey, Khalil Shakir, and Nico Collins. So out of all of those guys, really the only guy that lines up on the outside as a true X receiver is Nico Collins. Justin Jefferson can operate pretty much anywhere. So can Puka Nacua. But you got all these guys that work so well moving out of the slot. You got Z receivers and stuff like that. Kevontae Turpin, in terms of a gadget player, a guy that can accentuate the skill set of this wide receiver room, it makes more sense to get a guy like Marvin Mims, who works so well out of the flat. He works so well out of the backfield. Get the ball in his hands and let him just go make plays. That's one of the biggest things that you want to see from your punt returner, and then also a gadget player. Get him the ball in space and let him go to work. And when he's out in space, he has great vision, great burst acceleration, sideline to sideline agility. He's got great twitch in his lower half. Like, it makes way more sense to have Marvin Mims on this roster than it does to have Kevontae Turpin. Not only do you save almost $2 million against the salary cap, but you have a player that accentuates everybody else in terms of the rest of this wide receiver room.
Yeah, and moving on to tight ends. Again, we're just trying to recap the offense a little bit and then don't go into a deeper dive on the defense, which we weren't able to last night. Tight ends, Evan Ingram. He has Evan Ingram making it amongst the tight ends, almost $6 million against the salary cap. And I mentioned, making an adjustment for Marvin Mims, freeing up a second-round pick. One of the things that you could do is, even though Marvin Mims or Evan Ingram is a veteran, you can exchange Evan Ingram for a different, cheaper tight end, and then free up money to make a change on the offensive line, which we'll get to in a minute. That opens up that second-round pick for Marvin Mims. But Evan Ingram, it's nice to see that he's there. There's a lot of hope and hype around Evan Ingram from Broncos country and national media. A lot of people are expecting him to kind of return back to that 2023 form where he had one of the best years of his career. Last year, he got derailed by injuries. He suffered, I believe, a hamstring injury that early in the season that caused him to miss 4 games, and then the torn pec that caused him to miss the final 4 games. And simply put, if he's healthy, he is a difference maker for the Broncos side end room that desperately needed a playmaker like him who can create mismatches. But Lance, you can dive into this a little bit more. The overall build of Tom Blair's tight end room is a little bit questionable.
Well, especially when you consider the fact that, like I said, you've got Justin Jefferson, you've got Puka Nacua, you've got Ladd McConkey, guys that work so well out of the slot, create some more explosiveness. Evan Ingram, he's not a guy that you want to have attached to the line of scrimmage in terms of a run blocker. He's got Brock Bowers, he's got Isaiah Likely. Both of those guys can be attached. They both work really well as receivers. You can split them out wide if you want to, but Evan Ingram just seems like a kind of a funky fit here. To me, I want another guy that can line up in line as a run blocker. And Eric, you brought up last night, I believe Tucker Kraft, from where's Tucker Kraft now? Is he in Cincinnati still? Where the heck is he from?
Green Bay.
Green Bay, thank you. So regardless, Tucker Kraft is a guy that you can line up in line as especially on the backside. If you got Brock Bowers on the front side, you want to run some 12 personnel, take one of those slot receivers off the field. you get Tucker Kraft on the field. And this guy offers some versatility as a pass catcher as well. So to me, if you get rid of that cap hit from Evan Ingram, like right around $5 million, you get a guy like Tucker Kraft that opens up $4 million against the salary cap. You can also bolster up this offensive line, which I know you have a guy we talked about a little bit last night. Let's get into that.
Yeah, and with the tight end room, if you're going to sit there and move Evan Ingram off for Tucker Kraft, that does mean that you then have to open up one of those third-round slots for a third-round rookie, or one of the slots for a third-round rookie contract, because Tucker Kraft still on the rookie contract, third-round draft pick. But it's still something that's doable. Now, on the offensive line, Tom Blair has Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Za Frazier, and Dominic Pooney and Penei Sewell as his starters. Well, getting into what I said of removing Evan Ingram, giving Marvin Mims in there, Evan Ingram to save money, even Marvin Mims saving 1.5. Well, you can then remove Dominic Pooney off the lineup there and insert Quinn Miners. That frees up the second-round pick for Marvin Mims, who's a better returner and I believe more of a gadget weapon that can be used on the offense, a more developed gadget weapon. Kevontae Turnbull is very one-dimensional with how he can be used on it, as well as significantly upgrading your offensive line. Dominic Pooney is a very solid guard, but Quinn Miners for $5.5 million, 5.525 to be exact, against a salary cap, that is a steal if you're for an exercise like this, to give you one of the best 3 guards in the NFL. Your interior, 4 of your 5 are well developed, some of the best players on the offensive line at their positions. Mailata and Penei Sewell are two of the top 3 tackles in the NFL, and I don't think either of them are number 3. You have Landon Dickerson, who I think is a top 5 guard, and then Quinn Miners, who is a top 3 guard. The only issue is Za Frazier, who had a very good year last year as a rookie, but we still got to see more. So it's all doable of making these adjustments to get Quinn Miners on there, who he's one of those guys. And I mentioned this last night. There's certain positions where you don't want to go cheap at. You don't want to, take lesser talent. Offensive line, I think in general, is one. Quarterback, cornerback, those are all some of those positions. So Jordan Mailata, Landon Frazier, Quinn Miners, Penei Sewell, Zach Frazier in the center. I think I said Za Frazier earlier. I meant Zach. That is an outstanding offensive line, and I think that if you can do that, you definitely should do that.
Yeah, tying this all together here, I believe it's Jeremy Fowler with ESPN is doing the top 10 position rankings for ESPN right now, and Quinn Miners just came in at number 8. According to Jeremy Fowler, and this is NFL executives voting on this position. Quinn Miners entered a new stratosphere. This is according to Jeremy Fowler here. Quote, Quinn Miners entered a new stratosphere in year 4, earning all-pro first-team honors along with a 4-year, $72 million extension. And Fowler wrote that he was one of 5 interior offensive linemen to appear on at least 75% of the ballots. He was the 96.6 pass block win rate, led all offensive linemen with at least 800 snaps played. You're talking about one of the best interior offensive linemen, taking over for a guy who played very well as a rookie in Dominic Pooney. but with the cap savings that you have by moving on from Evan Ingram, getting Marvin Mims into tow, like you bring in and bolster the offensive line. That's one of the best units you could ever even try to dream of bringing into a season to protect Patrick Mahomes. Like this move it's a great move if you're going to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And again, one of those things where you can do it. It's not like Quinn Miners is overly expensive. Not even $6 million against the salary cap this year. You make those adjustments to get him on there. And shame on Tom Blair for not doing that. Anyways, going to say hello to chat before we get to the defensive side of the ball. Barry coming in saying, hey, Lance. Mike S. saying, great to see all the Broncos fans. Amy coming in saying, good evening, Broncos country, as well as Greg Smith saying, good evening, Broncos country. Michael Ronquillo coming in saying, good evening, Eric and Lance, and Go Bo Broncos. Hope you're having a wonderful evening, Michael. Hope you all are having a wonderful evening and a wonderful start to your weekend. Glenn Ashley comes in with agreement saying Mims with those guys is so deadly. Not only does his skill set complement the group, he makes it far more dynamic and hard to scheme. 100%. And I was with Lance. I think the way that Tom Blair made his offensive weapons, primarily the wide receiver and tight end rooms, they lacked that dynamic and versatility ability that you kind of want to see. Marvin Mims adds a little bit more to that, as well as some other adjustments. And then he asks, Ron Balker, would you like a Hawkinson? TJ Hawkinson, he counts for $16.6 million against salary cap. Unless you're cutting money elsewhere, you're not going to be able to fit him in. Because again, it's best team money can buy while staying under the $279.2 million salary cap that is in play. Yep. And then saying that love the Quinn move that makes line so versatile. It definitely does. Now, getting to the defensive side of the ball. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask. So if you had this particular skill set, this particular offensive line, the skill position players that you have, what offensive coordinator, what head coach are you trying to utilize with this offense? To me, it screams like a Kyle Shanahan style offense. We can run some outside zone. We can run split flow zone. We can do a quick passing game. Like you've got guys that can win and get open easily early in the down. Like if you have this roster built up, is it Kyle Shanahan? Is it Sean McVay? Is it Sean Payton? What head coach would you pair with this, or offensive play caller specifically?
Andy Reid.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, you're working with Patrick Mahomes, so of course.
Not only that, you finally give him an offensive line. You give Patrick Mahomes weapons, and we saw how dangerous the Chiefs' offense was when they had even some solid weapons. They weren't outstanding; they were just carried by a couple of guys. This is a well-rounded room of weapons that they can have a lot of fun with. And I think that with what they've done with some of those other receivers, you can get some of that usage from, Marvin Mims, the offensive line's built up, Justin Jefferson. I think it's easy. Andy Reid, until proven otherwise, he is the best offensive play caller in the NFL. Can't stand him as a person. And we won't get into that, but it's easily him. I mean, you can make a case for Shanahan, you can make a case for Sean Payton, but I think it's very easily Andy Reid.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Getting to the defensive side of the ball, starting with cornerback, because the corner has the only starter for the Broncos and Patrick Surtain. Very easy. Even with his extension, he still only counts $8.37 million against the salary cap. And like I was saying with Quinn Miners, there's some guys where when the cost matches and they're considered a cheap for the year, you have to get them in and they're an exercise like this. I think Quinn Miners is one of those guys. Patrick Surtain is the other. Reigning defensive player of the year, the best corner in the NFL. I think there's a couple guys that are pretty close to him, but the main one, Derek Stingley Jr. of Houston, he costs almost about $4 million more against salary cap this year. So Patrick Surtain, you get him on a steal. It's very easy. And I mean, the other corners around him, Christian Benford, very underrated corner in the NFL. Cooper DeJean, one of those first-round rookie contracts that he has playing in the nickel. Zion McCollum, Tarheeb Still, who had a really good year for the Chargers last year as a rookie, and then Marcus Jones of the New England Patriots. Mentioned it last night, and we kind of brushed over it a little bit just because of how obvious it is. Patrick Surtain, probably one of the most obvious choices here. Maybe second most obvious behind Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes at $28 million against salary cap this year is an absolute bonkers of a steal. Patrick Surtain is probably the second biggest steal in terms of the level of talent versus salary cap hit for the season.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I think the third biggest steal here is Jordan Mailata at left tackle. I mean, tackles right now are making $25-30 million. There's a lot of money being thrown around at the tackle position with Jordan Mailata at $15 million as the best left tackle in the NFL. That I have another point that I want to get to. It's moot and obsolete. It really doesn't matter. But Jordan Mailata there as the left tackle is another big time steal. But going back to Pat Surtain, again, reigning defensive player of the year, he's only going to get better. He continues to show the technique, the length that he has, the physicality he has at the line of scrimmage, the physicality he has at the catch point, the ball skills that he has. This dude is like at $8.5 million. I think that's what the number is. Let's see here. $8.37 million is technically the cap hit. This dude, for what he is probably the best value player in the NFL outside of Patrick Mahomes. Like, seriously, what he does, what he allows Vance Joseph and this Broncos defense to do with his ability to just lock down one side of the field, it's like Champ Bailey level of play coming from Pat Surtain. Like, it's quite honestly amazing to think of what he does. Going into another conversation here, I want to talk about Cooper DeJean. And unfortunately, we can't have the true discussion here, but you have Cooper DeJean, a second-round pick, a guy that plays outside, plays in the slot. There's not an argument now because we don't know what the contract looks like, but would you rather have Jahdae Barron over Cooper DeJean?
Cooper DeJean, we have a year of evidence of what he's going to be in the NFL.
Fair. That's a fair statement.
Right. And especially for an instance like this exercise is you're not taking rookies. You're taking people that you know what they do in the NFL.
Yeah, and that's fair. And we're limited to first-round rookies, only having four second-round picks. It changes. It changes the math. I was just trying to hype up a little bit of Jahdae Barron here because I think Jahdae Barron's actually a better player than Cooper DeJean is.
Very well could be. I think that Jahdae Barron was a better prospect than Cooper DeJean.
Yep.
Better player. Well, we got to wait till we see Jahdae Barron in the NFL before we can actually say that.
That's fair.
Because let me tell you what, there's been a lot of corners that I would say were better prospects than other corners who've gone on to do nothing in the NFL.
Yeah, that's true.
Just one of those things. And then we're going to stick with the secondary. We're going to move back to safeties. And then we'll get, yes, Cooper DeJean was a second-round pick. I said first-round pick. I was getting him mixed up with Quinton Mitchell. My apologies. Even so, you'd have to make that adjustment there with the limit on second-round picks for it. So, again, my apologies. Got to mix up with Quinton Mitchell.
It's all good. I threw a wrench in the works with that particular topic of conversation there. My bad.
And then staying in the secondary, the safeties, we do have one of the safeties represented from the Broncos, Kyle Hamilton, Kirby Joseph, two of the best safeties in the NFL combined for $9 million against the salary cap. Mm-hmm. Again, pretty easy choices there. Kyle Hamilton still on his first round rookie contract. So that's one of those four that Tom Blair allowed. Kirby Joseph just signed his extension, still very cheap for this year. Cameron Kinchins, who I think is a very underrated safety in the NFL at 1.2, and then Talanoa Hufanga, $3.4 million against salary cap is the final safety Tom Blair has, which makes sense. I mean, he hasn't had injuries that really raise long-term injury or long-term decline concerns. Last year, he dealt with a wrist injury that caused him to miss some time. He was dealing with a lower leg injury, but we saw how he reacted coming back from that, and that wasn't an issue until his wrist started bothering him. Hufanga, there's a reason why there's a lot of hype around him. There's a reason why I'm not as concerned with his injuries as I am with Dre Greenlaw as well. I think at $3.4 million, it's a pretty easy choice on there. If you have the salary cap room available and doing this exercise, and obviously Tom Blair did, Talanoa Hufanga, he makes it as the fourth safety in Tom Blair's 53-man roster that money can buy while staying under the salary cap.
Well, I think the way that he actually built this defense up and the way that he built the edge room, the interior defensive line, the linebackers, and especially the safety room, you've got Kyle Hamilton, who can play all over the defensive backfield as a true Swiss Army knife chess piece. Like, he can play pretty much anywhere. You put in a backup behind him in Talanoa Hufanga, who plays a lot better closer to the line of scrimmage. But you pair Kyle Hamilton with a guy like Cam Kitchens, who can also play the single high free safety. And then who's the other one? It's a Kirby Joseph, another single high free safety. Like that guy has plenty of range, plenty of ball skills, the ability to drive downhill as a run defender. Like the way that he built this safety room out makes a lot of sense. And Talanoa Hufanga, if you want to move out from another linebacker, I mean, we can get in that conversation here in a minute. Talanoa Hufanga plays really well close to the line of scrimmage. He can bang. He's a guy that just flies all over the field. You can see those flowing locks running out behind him. Like this safety room, I actually like the way it's built, but I also agree with the way that you, in your particular operation here, the way that you rebuilt this roster, you want to get Brandon Jones in the operation because you want another
we'll get
guy.
To that. We'll get to that here in a minute.
Okay. So
we definitely have time. We'll get into my build about it, and then you definitely, if you guys have any questions, get them in. We'll probably be done with the defense here in the next 10 minutes. We'll probably spend a few minutes talking about my own, and then we'll have plenty of time left over for your guys' questions.
Yeah,
not absolutely. Trying to shut you down, but I don't want to jump ahead and do a conversation that we're going to definitely have later.
No, you're good. I just think that with Kirby Joseph and Cam Kitchens, you've got guys that can roam the back end. Kirby Joseph has at least enough range to play single high if you need him to. Cam Kitchens, I think he has that ability as well, and he does really well driving forward. But with Kyle Hamilton and Talanoa Hufanga, if you want to get like versatile chess pieces that can play on the back end, but also guys that can fill in for linebacker roles, like the way that he built this safety room makes a lot of sense. And you got a lot of great versatility with all four of these players.
Yeah. Now moving up a little bit to the linebackers, Fred Warner, Zach Bond, Zaire Franklin, Henry To'oto'o, and Ivan Pace Jr. Rounds out the room. I wouldn't make a move to get Dre Greenlaw in there personally, although I think if you wanted to save a little bit of money, Zaire Franklin for Dre Greenlaw, if you are confident in Greenlaw's return, which if you guys have paid attention to the morning shows, I'm very hyped for Dre Greenlaw. I still have serious reservations about his ability to return from injuries and the level of player that he will be. But I still think there is an argument to have here for linebackers, but it's not one we really have to get into because it doesn't include a Broncos player. But if you really wanted to, you can cut money for Zaire Franklin, who I think is a good linebacker. I don't think he's among the best like a lot of other people do. And he can save almost $2 million that you can use elsewhere by putting in Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah, well, and Dre Greenlaw, before the Achilles injury, which happened in the Super Bowl, not this past season, but the year before. So he's coming back. We talked about this, not necessarily at length, but just a little bit. Dre Greenlaw and what he showed this last season towards the tail end of the year, where he was very unconfident.
34 snaps.
Yep, 34. Yep, and it was a very small sample size. He looked very uncomfortable moving and cutting and trying to run. It actually turned into, quite honestly, one of the bigger scandals towards the end of the season because Devondre Campbell, who had been filling in for Dre Greenlaw pretty much the entire season, when Dre Greenlaw came back, San Francisco started Dre Greenlaw over Devondre Campbell, and then he ended up pulling himself out of a football game. Like it was kind of an ugly situation there. But when Dre Greenlaw is healthy, you pair him with Fred Warner, a guy that's one of the best linebackers, if not the best inside linebacker in the game right now. Dre Greenlaw has the ability to hang with a guy like that and be another top, let's call it top 15 at least level linebacker at the NFL level. So it depends on what he comes back with a full year removed, a year and a half removed from that Achilles injury. To me, if you can go over Zaire Franklin and get a guy like Dre Greenlaw, who I think is more consistent as a run defender, I think he's more consistent in coverage than Zaire Franklin. Like that, to me, would be a better move, and you save some money on the salary cap just based on the deal that he has coming off of that injury.
Yeah, one of the other concerns with Greenlaw, besides the injuries, is can he be that level of player when he's not playing to the best linebacker in the NFL?
Yeah, that's a fair
How much
point.
of it did he benefit from Fred Warner? Well, guess what? In this exercise, who is the top safety? Fred Warner.
Yep.
So that concern is erased for this. It's still the injuries. Achilles injuries are hard to come back from. They are the hardest injury to come back from nowadays, having taken over that from ACLs. So still a lot of concern there. And then the fact that he missed OTAs and minicamp because of dealing with another lower body injury. Mm-hmm. Expectation is he'll be good to go here in the next couple of weeks early on in training camp, but it's never a good thing to see another lower body injury for that. So I definitely agree with what you're saying. There's definitely that argument to have. And one thing is, I think Zaire Franklin absolutely clears Dre Greenlaw as a run defender. So if you really want that outstanding run defender, well, you can go with Franklin. But I think some of the other linebackers cover up that enough to where you can take that slight hit for somebody who I think is significantly better in coverage in Greenlaw over Franklin. Yeah. Now moving on to outside the edge rushers, Nick Benito, he makes it as the fourth rusher behind Myles Garrett, behind Micah Parsons, who Tom Blair mentions as one of those guys that could easily be moved around and moved out of there. Gregory Rousseau and then Nick Benito. And then Nick Herbig and Dietrich Wise round out the room. Nick Benito is deserving to be on there. In this instance, it would cut down on his exposure as a run defender, where he's not quite a liability, but he's very below average as a run defender, makes a handful of plays against the run on the season. Often of them are basically being the forgotten man on the defensive front. So here in this situation, if you're building this roster, being able to put him in as a 102 mile per hour fast rush specialist to close out the games, I think that is very fair and fine to do, especially for just under $5.7 million against the salary cap.
No, I definitely agree with you. And the way that Tom Blair actually built this room out, you've got Myles Garrett, who can play with his hand in the dirt, play as a 5 technique, play as a 7 technique. You got Gregory Rousseau, who works best as a 7 technique. Dietrich Wise, who can slide inside and play the 4-eye if you need him to. Like, you've added more versatility to this interior defensive line. Then you got Micah Parsons as a speed rusher, a guy that can blitz in the A and B gaps. Nick Benito, a guy that flies around on the outside. Nick Herbig can do that as well. Like, you've got you bring a very versatile skill set and can create a lot of different mismatches based on what you have with the interior defensive line here. Like, I like the way this room is built out. And Nick Benito, with that first step explosiveness, obviously 13.5 sacks this last season, like, you bring just another player that can win one-on-one matchups. And we saw that growth with him this last season. Myles Garrett, the best pass rusher in the NFL right now, at least in my opinion. Micah Parsons does a great job with the blitz. Gregory Rousseau can hold up as a run defender. The way that you can mix and match these guys together and bring multiple different skill sets, it makes a lot of sense the way you build this room out.
Yeah. Jason Bonney saying Greenlaw might be the most important please stay healthy player on the defense. 100%.
Absolutely.
This linebacker room outside of him is terrible, and betting on Alex Singleton to be more than he is. He's at a point we know what he is in coverage. He's a liability in coverage. Fine, a good run defender between tackles. Out to the tackles, he's solid. Who's going to step up behind him? We don't know. So you need Greenlaw to be healthy, and you need him to be at least, if he can be at least solid this season, it's still an improvement over last year. Now, getting to the interior defensive line, no Broncos made it. And it's very easy to see why. In total, on the Tom Blair spent not even 15.5 million against the salary cap on all 5 interior defensive linemen. Zach Allen costs more than all of that.
Yep.
And it just got to a point where I think that the cap situation of it had to go a little bit cheaper on it, but still land quite a bit of talent. Jalen Carter was one of those rookie first-round contracts. Kobe Turner, one of those rookie third-round contracts. Both of them have been great players so far. Poona Ford, outstanding run defender, one of the best run defending nose tackles in the NFL. Moro Ojomo, who was a steal for the Philadelphia Eagles, at least as a rookie last year. And then Davin Gaucho, who is a really high-quality interior defensive lineman. Solid pass rusher, but more of a run defender on the inside. He really built this defensive line well. Just, when you have the costs that you do with DJ Jones, Malcolm Roach, Zach Allen, John Frankenmeyers, it's hard to fit it in when 2 of your guys, Poona Ford and Jalen Carter, are 10.9 million of that 15.5 million against salary cap. Only place you spent money going elsewhere. Again, I talked about, removing Micah Parsons for somebody else on the offense. Well, maybe you remove Micah Parsons, free up that little bit of room, and then get a Zach Allen or a John Frankenmeyers in there on that defensive line. Overall, I think this is a very solid defensive line with the salary cap and rookie contract restraints that Tom Blair had.
Absolutely. I mean, Jalen Carter, Kobe Turner, Poona Ford, those guys can not only like single gap slashers, they are both like all 3 of those guys are really good at 2-gapping, which allows your linebackers to flow. It allows your edge rushers to get, one-on-one opportunities. And the way that it's built, like this defense makes a lot of sense. And if you go back to what Tom Blair said, give me Vic Fangio. I need some 2-gapping guys up front that can actually hold a 1.5 gap, maybe 2 gap, let my linebackers flow and scrape through the trash, get my edge rushers up the field. Like the way it's built out, this makes a lot of sense in terms of how he built this roster out. And honestly, why I'd like to see Zach Allen here, he's much better as a single interior gap, like a penetrator kind of guy, a guy that plays that 4-eye technique, like it really wants to get upfield and rather than hold the point of attack. You've got Puna Ford, who's a great 2-gapping nose tackle. You've got Jalen Carter, who can 1 gap. He can be a penetrator. He's got 2-gap ability. You've got Moro Ojomo, who can play some 2-gap if you want him to on the inside. You've got Dietrich Weiss, who can play some 2-gap. Allow these players that have the burst and electric pass rush ability to work alongside those guys. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And final thing before we get into mine on this, special teams, Will Lutz, he's the only one that you can really make a case for. Obviously, I think there's plenty of long snappers better than Mitchell Fabroni. And then Jeremy Crawshaw, he's a rookie, so he's not going to make it. But Will Lutz costs over $5 million against salary cap. Brendan Aubrey, who is the best kicker in the NFL right now, he costs $1.03 million against salary cap. Get the better kicker at cheaper. Nothing much else to say about the 3 special teams players there. All right, now moving on. I'm going to put it on screen so you guys can see it too. I took the time to go through and make my own. There are a lot of similarities. There are plenty of changes for it. I went through and I followed the same rules. I had no rookies. I had 4 rookie first round contracts, 4 second, 4 third, and then 12 4 through 7s. So follow the same rules. Quarterback, no change. I kept it Patrick Mahomes. Let me adjust the size so it can look a little bit cleaner for you guys. Patrick Mahomes, Bo Nix, kept the quarterbacks the same. Mentioned it when we were talking about it earlier. Patrick Mahomes at $28 million. That's a steal. Josh Allen is almost like $8 million more. Lamar Jackson is about $15 million more. So at the cost at that, Patrick Mahomes and Bo Nix again, it's one of those situations at a cost. Could I have gone with a different veteran and used that first round rookie contract elsewhere? Sure, I could have. But, and you kind of touched on it a little bit. What Bo Nix brings can cover some of what Patrick Mahomes does. So you wouldn't have to bring about some drastic changes to your offense for one of these quarterbacks. If, you were to lose Patrick Mahomes, you wouldn't have to change a lot for Bo Nix.
Yep.
So that was kept in mind for that when I was making it as well. Very easy for me. Quarterbacks really wasn't much of a change, even though I talked about how easy it would have been for Tom Player to make the adjustment for Jaden Daniels. Well, with some of the moves I did, it wasn't as easy for me to make that adjustment. And I don't think I would have, even though I think Jaden Daniels was the better, rookie quarterback last year. I think that the way he plays is still very different from Patrick Mahomes. And as I said, I wanted to try to do something in mind of not having to bring about major changes to the offense for the backup quarterback.
Well, I think that the one change you could do, but it also changes so many different things, is say instead of taking Patrick Mahomes, you could get Jaden Daniels as your starting quarterback with Bo Nix as the backup. But you've already overreached
for rookie contracts.
Exactly, for rookie contracts. So you can't actually do that. To me, you've got the best quarterback in the NFL on a value deal with Bo Nix that plays at least similarly enough that you can work with that. So why would you change that?
Yeah. And then getting onto the running backs, this is where I have the first big change. Saquon Barkley, he stays over there. I kept Bucky Irving. I kept Isaiah Pacheco. And then Bijan Robinson. I used my second first-round rookie contract on a running back, even with Saquon Barkley, just because I think that the way, having those 2 running backs in the backfield at the same time, and with the other weapons that I have on here, it would be so much fun to watch. And even though I could have gone cheaper here, I really considered keeping the same 4 running backs. I went for fun and the amount of fun that you can have for this. And I kind of made this offense with Sean Payton as the head coach in mind, as well. So Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, what you can do with them could lead for a lot of fun for Sean Payton as a head coach.
So my question here, and this is off the top of my head, isn't Saquon already on his extension, or is he still on the rookie contract?
He's on. He's on an extension.
Yeah. So would that change the rookie first round math, or am I missing something?
No, Saquon Barkley's on his extension. He doesn't count as a first round pick. Bijan Robinson is still on his first round rookie contract. He does count.
Yeah, my bad. I just was thinking something completely outside the box. No, where you have here Saquon Barkley and Bijan with their ability both as between tackles runners, outside the tackles runners, receivers out of the backfield, like you cannot get a better pairing for the cost that you have here. And then you bring in Bucky Irving, who played admirably. Like I don't want to say admirably, he played extremely well as a rookie this last season. Like seriously, that dude's insane. And then you get Isaiah Pacheco as a dude that it's kind of funny to watch him run because he runs like that, like your 6-year-old kid that gets a new pair of shoes in the store and he's like angry at the ground and he's just like, I'm gonna show off my new shoes. That's how Isaiah Pacheco runs. And you bring in the versatility of what you have at the top two guys, and then Pacheco with the angry running ability. You've got power, you've got speed, you've got versatility, everything you want in a running back room, all for what, less than $12 million? Sure, why not?
Yeah. Mike S coming in hoping all the new players stay healthy and Broncos can beat the Chiefs more than once. I'm hoping the Broncos can beat the Chiefs without having it to be the Chiefs backups, which is still it's not more than once, but situation was great for the Broncos last year to win in that finale.
Yeah.
I want to get around to being able to beat the starters and be able to beat them more than once in the season. So now moving on to wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, he's the same. Puka Nacua, he's the same. Ladd McConkey, he's the same. Outside of that, I have 3 different receivers. Drake London, outstanding receiver, very underrated as well outside of Atlanta, and one of those first-round rookie contracts. Juwan Jennings, who I think is very underrated. He's probably the best blocking wide receiver in the NFL, and he's a very capable weapon. And then, I made the case for Marvin Mims for Tom Blair. No one should be shocked that I used one of my 4 second-round rookie contracts on Marvin Mims for this.
Well, and my big thing, like I said earlier in the show, you have all these like slot versatile players that sure they can play on the outside, sure they can play on the inside. They're all versatile players. But I need some size. I need some physical catch point ability players. And you go out and you bring in Drake London, who is a big body wide receiver, has playmaking ability as a catch point receiver. And then you'll go and get Juwan Jennings, who is also that same type of mold. You bring in so much more versatility. You bring in Marvin Mims, who adds that gadget versatility. Like this wide receiver room, the way that you built it, is way better in my estimation. It also ties into the tight end room here as well. Like you bring some more size, some more physicality, some more versatility. Like this room is a lot better the way that you built it than what Tom Blair did.
Yeah, Tom Blair has 3 slot only wide receivers in my opinion.
Yeah.
Which leads to issues. Now moving on to tight ends, no Evan Ingram for me. Saving money was important for it. No Brock Bowers simply because of rookie contracts. At this point, I have 3 of the 4 first-round rookie contracts, and I saved one for somebody on the defense. So Sam Laporta, another second-round rookie contract. I believe, if I remember right, all 4 of my second-round rookie contracts are on the offense. Marvin Mims, Ladd McConkey, Laporta, and I believe, if I remember right, somebody on the offensive side of the ball as well. So Sam Laporta, Isaiah Likely, Darnell Washington, blocking tight end. He's basically an extra offensive lineman out there. Sam Laporta, he's more of that slot tight end, and then Isaiah Likely, who can be more of a versatile in and out guy. When I talk about how you build a tight end room, this is it. You want your big receiving tight end, Sam Laporta. You want a versatile guy who can do a little bit of everything, Isaiah Likely, and then you want a blocker, Darnell Washington.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of alluded to this with the Evan Ingram conversation just a little bit ago. Like you've got big slot. Brock Bowers can line up attached, but Isaiah Likely, you want him outside. You want him playing in the slot. You want him split out wide and use that athleticism. You want, Evan Ingram split out wide. With a guy like Sam Laporta, you can line him up as a blocker. I mean, he went to the University of Iowa, but still, those guys know how to like grind out blocking tight ends. And then Darnell Washington, 6'7", 260 pounds. Like this dude is a inline full blow your ass off the football type of tight end and as a blocker. Like, yes, I'm 100% in agreement with you on this.
Yeah. Now moving to the offensive line, shouldn't be, too surprising after praising Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, and then Penei Sewell, and then getting Quinn Miners on there. There's 4 of the 5. Zach Frazier, I couldn't get in there. I had already used up all of my second round rookie contracts. I went to Cooper Beebe, who had a really good year last year for the Dallas Cowboys, using a third round rookie contract, trying to stay cheaper at center. And so built my starting offensive line. DJ Humphries as a veteran present for cheap. And then I went cheap across the offensive line. Zach Tom, who's on a rookie contract, I believe one of those 4th through 7th rounders. Tanner Bortolini also using a rookie contract. Tevin Jenkins is on a new deal, not on a rookie contract anymore. So built up the depth on the offensive line. Jason Bonney coming in saying we need someone to steal Andy Reid's nuggies on game days. His barbecue. He has, I think he's been very open that he has his barbecue ritual at a local Kansas City barbecue joint before home games.
Take away the cheeseburger.
You need to remember what it is, and then just buy everything. Make sure you can get his barbecue.
Take away the cheeseburgers. Take away all the cheeseburgers. Back to your offensive line here. I said I was going to bring up this point, and it's specifically as a shout out to George Paton. It's a big thing I talked about last night. Jordan Mailata, $15 million against salary cap.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Not Broncos news, but could have been. I know a lot of people were wanting him in the draft. Quinshon Judkins was arrested today. For battery domestic violence charge.
Oh no. That's not good. I don't want to get into the.
Don't need to get into more than that. I just wanted to share it because I know there's a lot of people in chat and Nick who wanted Quinshon Judkins.
I wanted Quinshon Judkins,
but it just popped up. So get into it. Getting back into the offensive line.
So to me, you've got Jordan Mailata, who's obviously the best left tackle in the game right now, not named Trent Williams. And Trent Williams took a big step back this last season. He's had some injury concerns. He's also on the older side of things. If you want to save some money here, the Denver Broncos have Garrett Bowles, who's on a $5 million cap hit this season. He's not the best left tackle in the NFL, but this is a shout out to George Paton. We talked about this last night. George Paton has a lot of players that came in on this particular project that are on cheap deals, that are team-friendly deals that allows you to, build the best roster in the NFL. If you wanted to save some more money, even upgrade, the cornerback room, maybe upgrade the wide receiver room a little bit more. Jordan Mailata, you can save $10 million and get a guy that's a top 7-ish left tackle in the NFL and put him in there. I'm not saying that I would do that. It's just a potential option here. And I think that this is, again, a bigger shout out to George Paton and what he's done with his contract work, the scouting ability, retaining players that have been like quality players for this Broncos roster. And it shows more and more and more that George Paton needs to get a contract extension. I mean, we talked about it last night. Ryan Pace, 15 and 36 over the last 3 seasons. He just got a 2-year extension from the Chicago Bears. Why doesn't George Paton have a new contract? It absolutely needs to happen like right now.
Yeah, and he deserves more praise for the way that Garrett Bowles contract is structured.
Yeah, absolutely.
$5.8 million against salary cap this year. Next year, $9.2 million. And guess what? He has no guaranteed money in 2027 or 2028, where his salary cap hits explode to 28.6 and 27.6 million for those 2 years respectively. But no guaranteed money. You can cut him, and if you cut him in 2020 or if you cut him in 2027, you only deal with 5.2 million in dead money from prorated bonuses.
Yep.
So it's a very easy contract where if they, after this year, maybe they go and draft somebody to take over at left tackle. They have 1 more year of Garrett Bowles, and then they can move on from him. There's a lot there, but as I said before, addressing your Mailata for Bowles and saving money. There's positions that I don't cut money for talent or cut talent even for money or whatever, however way you want to put it. Even though Garrett Bowles is about $10 million cheaper, I think the price difference is worth it for Mailata because Mailata is that much better.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. My big point was I wanted to bring up another point.
No, I know. I just wanted to explain why.
Yep. No, you're good.
And then getting to the defensive side of the ball, no Nick Benito. Again, I used all my 4th round or 2nd round rookie contracts on the offensive side of the ball. I used my final 1st round on Will Anderson on the defense, Brian Burns, very capable pass rusher. Cameron Jordan, a veteran presence in it. Yaya Diaby, who I think is very underrated. Joshua Uche, fine run defender. But I did get Jonathan Cooper in there. And I moved some money around to get Jonathan Cooper in there. I think as that, again, same thing with Nick Benito, as a third or fourth rusher in the room. I think both these guys would be even better. I think they'd both be even more efficient. I think they're fine starters, but would be better as depth players. And behind Will Anderson, behind Brian Burns, behind Cameron Jordan, I think Jonathan Cooper can be, a really good contributor to the Broncos defensive front.
No, I don't disagree with you. And I think the bigger news here is Yaya Diaby, a guy that can play that 4-eye if you need him to, play a 5 technique. Like you brought so much versatility with this room. And Jonathan Cooper doing such a great job setting the edge. This last season wasn't nearly as great as it has been after, before he got paid. Like Jonathan Cooper setting the edge was the best run defender the Broncos had a couple of years ago. Like seriously, like this dude knows how to play some football. He brings you some pass rush upside as a depth rusher and not a guy that you want to be out there starting all the time. So like you get Will Anderson Jr., Brian Burns, obviously those guys like run with their hair on fire. Cameron Jordan can play some 7 technique if you need him to. Cooper bringing some depth pass rush. Yaya Diaby adding even more versatility to that defensive line. And then Josh Uche, I want to say a better run defender than pass rusher, but still a guy that you can, just throw out there in rotational snaps. Like this room looks really well for you, dude.
Yeah. Quickly going over the interior defensive line and linebackers. I did have Zach Allen on here, but I didn't have Fred Warner. I made that adjustment, getting Fred Warner as part of my linebacker unit and removing Zach Allen because of the cost. Definitely took a talent hit on the interior defensive line. Oso Digizawa, he had a really good year last year. Kobe Turner, Puna Ford, those guys carry over. Moro Ojomo carrying over. Levi on Wuzarika, he had a really good year last year, who is on a very cheap deal, on a 1-year deal. So kind of capitalize on that. And then, getting the best linebacker in the game. Again, when you have the best and it's still a decent deal, like Fred Warner at $16 million is still decent because he's that much of a difference maker for the defense. Blake Cashman had a really good year. Zach Bond just had a great year, got that extension, still cheap for this year. Caden Ellis, I made an adjustment for Caden Ellis on there because Caden Ellis is more versatile. He can be that A-gap blitzer a little bit with like Zach Bond, does really well against the run. Then Pete Warner was cheaper than some of the other guys I was looking at for it. And then getting to the final groups, the defensive backs here. Again, Patrick Surtain, he was one of the first guys I had on it, pasted it over. Kept the same. Christian Benford, Zion McCollum, Tarheeb still did make a change because I had no more first-round rookie contracts for Cooper DeJean. Gerald Alexander just signed for a cheap deal. Still a quality player. And then Clark Phillips on a very cheap, I believe, 5th-round rookie contract for additional depth at the nickel. Then I made the adjustments at safety to get Brennan Jones in there. Kept Kirby Joseph, kept Cameron Kitchens. And then I got Reed Blankenship, who I think is a very solid third safety in the NFL, rotational safety. Been really good for the Eagles in his time with them. Underrated. So got him in there for moving some money around up for it. And before I pass this off to you, for the special teams, kept Brendan Aubrey, kept the long snapper. I actually had to make an adjustment to the long snapper because I was literally like $67,000 over the salary cap. And I was able to save that by just switching from the long snapper I had to the long snapper on there, who I believe is a long snapper for the Jaguars. And then Torrey Taylor instead of Corey Borkowitz because, again, contract stuff.
Yeah. No, I really like the way that you built this out. Like Oso Digizua is one that, man, if you could work the salary cap around and get Zach Allen on this roster, I would really like to do that. But I mean, you're talking $10 million. You got to move around. Yeah. Kobe Turner, Puna Ford, Levi Onwazurike, who I really like as a 3 technique. Like that guy can play inside, rush the passer. Moro Joma offers that inside-outside versatility as well. You got Fred Warner, the best linebacker in the game. Blake Cashman, Zach Bond, Caden Ellis, Pete Werner, guys that work really well moving forward. And if you're going to have a 2-gapping and penetrating, so a 2-gapping front and a penetrating secondary, second level of the pass rush, second level of the front 7, this works really well, especially with what Zach Bond was able to do this last season. Like he earned every penny of that, 5-year, $75 million contract or whatever the hell it was. Like Zach Bond on this with the cap number you have, great addition here. No disagreement with the secondary here. Sertan obviously is the big value here. Christian Benford is another player with a big time value. Zion McCollum, great player here. The big note here that I have is Kirby Joseph and Brandon Jones. With what Brandon Jones was able to do as a free safety last year, moving sideline to sideline and coverage ability, I didn't realize how good he was. Like one of the top 5 free safeties in terms of sideline to sideline, going and attacking the football. That dude with Kirby Joseph, you bring so much range. You get Cameron Kitchens who can play the backside. You got Reed Blankenship who can play the backside. 3 of those guys, Brandon Jones, Cameron Kitchens, and Reed Blankenship, can all line up in the slot if you want them to. They can drive down vertically and attack the running game. Like this secondary is absolutely spectacular the way you built it out, dude. Like this is a really fun defense that you built.
Yeah, and I added more restraints on mine. As I said, I kept this in mind with Sean Payton for offense. I kept it in mind for the Broncos coaching staff as a whole, with Vance Joseph as the defensive player call it here, and being able to do what he does, using Kirby Joseph and Brandon Jones in a versatile way. Cameron Kitchens, Reed Blankenship. I kept that in mind with it as well. And Jason Bonney coming in. Before I get to this real quick, if you guys have any questions, get them in. We only have a few more minutes left before we got to get out of here. But Jason Bonney with the $5 super chat saying, thanks for taking the time on Saturday night for round 2 on this subject, Eric and Lance. Eric, your team is better compared to the other dudes. I appreciate that, Jason. And you're part of the reason why we're doing this. You were in your comments on Twitter, you're 100% right. And it's just, and I did feel bad that Lance wasn't able to dive into it, that neither of us were able to dive into it as much as we wanted to because of the mistake I made of forgetting that it was Friday. And so reached out not long after actually I responded to you on Twitter asking if we can go live tonight so we can dive deeper into it. Because it's a fun exercise. It's a fun conversation to have. And it's fun to see just what different things you can do when you're looking, all 32 teams are available to you and you got to do this. Even with the restrictions, obviously, if there were some, 24 total rookie contracts, obviously things would look different, but splitting it up with 12 in the first 3 rounds, 12 in the last 4 makes it. But thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. And we both appreciate you coming at me on Twitter a little bit and mentioning something so we can get in here and finish the conversation because we mentioned it last night about wanting to get back into it, but I was looking at it with training camp stuff starting and everything. I just don't know when we would have been able to. We would have had to squeeze it in at the end of a show at some point, and even then, it might not get the time that this topic deserves. Yeah. So, thank you for that, and thank you, Lance, for making the time to join on a Saturday night and able to get your voice out there and on this topic.
So first and foremost, Jason, I appreciate you for having my back, man. Like that was pretty cool to see. Hey, Lance didn't have much time to get his words out. I appreciate you for standing up for me, but still, dude, like this is our show. We enjoyed taking the time to go back and forth, and yeah, it was a little truncated yesterday, but you know what? We made it work out, and Eric gave me a lot of platform tonight to get my voice out and to let my opinions be heard, and I appreciate him for that. I appreciate you guys for all joining us. But no, like this exercise is really, truly one of those Dove Valley deep divers. Let's go and join in the conversation. Let's actually dive deep into this. Try to figure out as much Broncos topics as we possibly can for what is a great offseason topic, to tell you the truth. And I think we did that tonight. And Eric, again, thanks for reaching out and saying, hey, by the way, we need to go and do this. We need to actually sit down and have this conversation because it's a fun one. That's one of those ones, it brings pride for Broncos country. It brings pride for me to be able to break down this team, to be able to break down the NFL a little bit more, and to just say, hey, by the way, what about this guy? What about this guy? It's a fun conversation, and we appreciate you all for being here. So thank you all. We definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, before we went live, we actually made the comment that next year in like June or July, when time is down, that we got to try to remember to do this on our own and see what we can come up with and maybe, have a competing one a little bit or even build it live. Do 1 week on the offense, 1 week on the defense or something during the downtime. But again, it's definitely a fun conversation. You guys, not to go into everything that's behind the curtain, but maybe you'll be seeing a little bit more of us temporarily here coming up. We'll see about that. I will be live on Monday morning, barring anything coming up like last week. is a somewhat emergency thing in the morning, stupid emergency thing in the morning, not something that I want to get into live. But that is going to have to do it for us tonight. We are at our limit here. But before we get out of here, we do have some things to say. If you guys can't do so financially, one thing you can do so that just takes a matter of seconds is subscribe, like, and share. And these times I know that it's not easy to always, buy merch or super chat or stars, but subscribing, like, and share helps us out so much. It helps us with the ever-changing algorithms, which are always creating us headaches. And take the time, even if you're not listening to it after fact, listening to it live, listening to it on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star review to win some gear, not swag. I hate saying swag every single month. And you guys can follow us on Instagram at @MileHighHuddle with an underscore between mile and high and huddle. If you guys are able to do so financially, you guys can go get some gear at mhhmerch.com and get your gear on, not swag. Again, I hate saying swag. You can get hats like the ones we are wearing. There's shirts, there's mugs, hats for different shows, all sorts of stuff on there. You guys can also take the time to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/milehighhuddle pod, facebook.com/milehighhuddle. If ever there's an issue where we can't go live on YouTube, well, we'll be live on Facebook. If there's ever an issue on Facebook, well, you can follow us on YouTube at youtube.com/milehighhuddle. Just in case there's ever issues, which happens quite a bit. You can also follow us on Twitter at MileHighHuddle, at DVDD_pod, and at the MHH pod for all the, access and everything like that, as well as us individually at Erick Trickel for myself, ERICK, TRICKEL, and at Lance S_MHH. And always free to reach out to us on there as well for anything like that. And with that, any final words, Lance?
No, I don't think so. This whole exercise has been so much fun. Like the way you think about it, that I tried to approach this as like a team building exercise. How does this entire roster with Tom Blair built? Like, how does it work? To break it down like that, to break it down and add Broncos players, to talk about the Broncos players, it's been a great operation. So I appreciate you guys are here joining us to do that. Like, to be able to talk about it like that. It's so much fun. But you guys stay safe and take care. Have a great rest of your weekend. And as always, go Broncos.
Yeah, I'll have to reach out to Nick and make sure that he doesn't pick this as a topic for Monday morning. Just because last couple months, Lance, there's been a lot of times where what we talk about on Friday is what he picks for the topic on Monday morning, which is always funny. But obviously he wants to get his opinion out there. So nothing wrong with that. I'm sure if he does, we'll be fine, and it'll be interesting to have that conversation with Nick as well. But guys, that's going to do it for us. Thank you guys for tuning in on a Saturday night without any warning, because we didn't know last night that we were going to be live tonight. And honestly, was about 4 or 5 hours ago when we even knew that we were going to be going live. So we appreciate you guys coming in. We appreciate everyone who came in and super chatted and starred. You guys are awesome. Everybody who came in and liked or gave the heart emoji or the wow emoji, whichever, we appreciate you all, as well as the 127 or so people that are tuning into this. You guys make it worth it. You guys help keep the lights on. It's the weekend, so make sure you guys have a wonderful weekend. Don't drink and drive. Call a taxi, call an Uber, call a friend. And as my good friend Nick always says, choose kindness and compassion. But of course, go Broncos.